Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book called The Ideal Man, Reviving Masculinity. Look at that. It's a real book. It's right there in my hands. You can open it and fan through the pages just like a real book. I finally have it, guys. It's out. And I'm asking you, please. It's been over a year. I've been dropping these podcasts once a week. I'm getting more and more interesting guests. I'm spending more and more time researching this, and the only way I make any money is by selling books. I mean, I get, I think, a penny per download for the podcast, 1 cent for every download. That's what I make. But the book, I actually make a few bucks if you buy it. So please get on Amazon, buy this thing. You can get the paperback or you can get the ebook. If you go to my website, travisneville.com, you can buy this book or the first one called The Jossman Method. And if you buy it from the website, then I'm going to sign it and send it to you that way. So you pay a few more bucks. That's because I have to pay for shipping on those. It's not, you're not paying for the signature. But please support me if you would. Help me out here. I've been doing this stuff for free for over a year, 2 years actually. And yeah, super excited to be able to offer this new book. It's fantastic. I spent a lot of time on it. It's some good stuff, and I know you'll enjoy it as well. So I had the opportunity to talk to two other like-minded individuals. One girl named Sarah, a guy named Ryan. Ryan's from Canada, Sarah's from San Diego. And we got on a three-way call, and we talked just kind of, I wanted to introduce the two of them because I think I'll be doing more work with them in the future. I'm already working with Ryan on his website. It's called carnalmarriage.com, and it's helping men be better at being men, specifically in a marriage situation. The idea he's got is, hey, do the things that you need to do as a man and you'll get laid more. No more sexless marriages. That's his thing. And Sarah's deal, she's at the Spunky Millennial on TikTok, and she does a great job of helping to educate women about men. And that's a thing that's not very popular. She catches a lot of shit for it because she speaks the truth. And I love that about her. She does a great job of being very straightforward, very well researched, very educated on her information. And the three of us just kind of had an introduction call. And you should be expecting to hear more from these people in the future because they're pretty cool. So here it is, my conversation with Sarah and Ryan. The three of us, we're calling ourselves SRT, Sarah, Ryan, and Travis. Not very creative, but we'll come up with something, and we'll start doing some lives on TikTok, stuff like that, and we'll go from there. But excited to bring you this conversation. Hope today this will help you to get your shit together. Enjoy the show, and have a great week. People who are going to watch this are going to know who I am, but they don't know who you guys are. So, Ryan, why don't you start? Tell me exactly what you're doing, where your business stands right now, exactly what you're into, website, the whole deal.
All right. Well, I'm Ryan Morrow. I'm the founder and creator of carnalmarriage.com, and that's where I show you how to get your wife to initiate and want sex with you again. I actually say society lied. I'm waging war. And I'm passionate about this. I'm actually giving it all away for free. I'm showing men how to show up as the kind of man that their wife is dying to be with again. And this doesn't matter if you're together, separated, divorced, if you've got children. If, I started to fix my poop when my wife was pregnant with our first twin girls. And yeah, man, I'm just passionate about saving marriages. I want stats to be different within 3 years. So it's literally like you jump into my program for free, save your marriage, get your wife back, get your life back. And I want proof in 3 years with divorce statistics.
And how's it going so far, man? Are you getting, I'm sure you're getting positive feedback.
I'm getting incredible feedback. I know it's really funny. I get, you know how it is. You get the negative comments all the time. And that just fuels me, man, because I think that the negativity comes from within, with all these people not knowing how to reflect properly, with the women's empowerment movement, with men showing up as, should I be a nice guy? Should I be an a-hole? I mean, everybody's so confused over the last 70 years, especially. And I think it's just the people that get into it and they go, oh my gosh, aha, I can't believe it. And it's just, it's very rewarding. Actually, I respond to everybody on my text messages, and I recently switched. And I'm constantly just saying, thank you for trusting me with your marriage. I'm honored. Like, it's so cool. And it's because of all the positive feedback that I'm starting to get with people in the program. So
speaking of the women's rights movement, Sarah, why don't you tell us exactly what you're
Mhm.
doing right now? What's the status of your drive here?
That's a loaded question. Well, I'm trying to speak to women and men, but primarily I'm trying to speak to women. I started noticing, I would say a couple years back, that there seemed to be this kind of, if all men, if it's not no man, it's all man kind of attitude towards women, that men are bad and that all men are rapists, and really frustrated me to kind of started to see this type of attitude towards our men. I come from a family, I have four brothers. I've been surrounded by men my whole life. And, the sister in me wanted to kind of rise up and provide some examples of what our men are really about, that they're very sensitive, that they're very loving and protectors and just very good hearted people. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to educate that there are differences between us, and that as a woman, I think it's important for us to understand those differences so that we're not attacking each other. And just like what Ryan's trying to do, how do we bring each other closer, just as individuals and as a society? So I'm trying to point out, some of my content can be a little controversial because I'm trying to point out the blatant sexism that's happening right now with the kind of second and third wave feminism. But I'm also trying to educate women that men are really lovely individuals.
So what's your
And we can
platform? How are
and
you
we can
getting
get
this message
along.
out? Yeah, we can for sure. How can people find your work? I mean, where do they look for you?
For me, right now, I am really concentrating on TikTok. That's the main platform. And then I'll move on to other platforms once I get that going.
And Ryan's website is carnalmarriage.com. How do they find you on TikTok?
they find me just Ryan Cass Morrow. And yeah, that's where I really started getting the traction. And just I push people to the website, of course, because I want them to get into my material. But I'm also, like Sarah, quite controversial. I'm not afraid to say it like it is. I think men don't realize men, if you're listening to this, like, you're not alone. I was in the sexless marriage too. I was in the marriage where I didn't know when I was going to have sex, where my wife just did it as a job. Man, you are not alone. And I would like to also add, along the lines of what Sarah was saying there, the reason why we've connected, guys, is I know that a lot of people get weirded out with some of our messages. The reality is this: women should be empowered and men need to be men. But man, the reason the three of us are here today is because we've got a way where we can connect you guys with, like, everybody has the same values. We're going to the same places here, right? Couples should be together. It's not women's empowerment. It's not men's rise up, get our manhood back. It's
No,
literally,
it's
how do we do
get
it together?
relationships together. You make families.
Yes.
Shit. I mean,
Yes.
it's so simple, but everybody wants to try to drive a wedge between that. Sarah, how do they find you on TikTok?
I have a little bit of an alter ego. It's called the Spunky Millennial.
Okay.
Don't ask me how that came. Ask
I'll
me how
put the
that came
graphics up.
about. Yeah, I have a bit of a spunky personality, and I am a millennial. So thank you.
Indeed. Yeah, you're welcome. So that's that's where we stand. That's where we are in our battle right now. I think that one thing that we all have in common, other than we're trying to push the same message, as Ryan said, is this idea of resiliency. And getting to know both of you, it's become clear that actually everybody I talk to, for the most part, who's trying to go out and help other people, usually have this one thing in common: they did something fucked up, or they went through a bad situation of some sort, and that was the impetus for them to start going out and trying to help other people. And so I'll call that resiliency, coming back from hardships. Anyway, I guess what I'm asking for you guys is, where'd you start? I mean, Sarah, what got you going down this road? What made you want to do this? What made you want to help people?
hmm well, I will be the first one to admit that I was a former man hater. I was in
Recovering.
a recovering man hater. I found myself throughout my 20s, I found myself in really toxic and destructive relationships that I knew weren't good for me, but I didn't know how to break the cycle. And that was because lost my father when I was very young. I was 10. He died of a massive heart attack. So I didn't have a really example of what a good man looked like. I had brothers and they were amazing. But there's just a very special bond between, a daughter and her father. So I really got into my 20s and my teens and early 30s, just not knowing kind of the trauma that I was bringing to my relationships and what I was doing and contributing to that. So, I was engaged. That kind of blew up a couple days before the wedding. And I pretty much I hated men. And I thought they're all bad, that they're this, they're that. And I had a pretty traumatic experience where I had to really look inside myself and ask, is it all them, or is there something that I'm doing here that is possibly creating this type of dynamic in my life? So I did a lot of therapy and I went and got a lot of help, and I started to see how I was contributing and realizing that no, not all, there's good people, there's bad people, there's differences in how we see the world. And ever since then, I do very well. I've done very well dating and having relationships now, and a much healthier person. And so that's why, I had to go through quite a bit. And for me, I want to share with women that, you can have this too. Like, don't make the same mistakes that I did. Like, don't blame your partners for all of your mistakes. Like,
Yeah, own your shit.
Own your stuff, and like take responsibility and learn how to be the type of woman that you need to be to attract the type of person that you want to be with. Because it all comes back to the fact is that I was broken and I was attracting brokenness into my life, and it had nothing to do with, their sex. I was just attracting brokenness.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is like personal accountability, take personal accountability, but then also, just stop blaming one gender for the heartache that you're going through, and
that
taking
doesn't make any
responsibility.
sense. I tell guys that all the time. Women are awesome. Why would you hate them? And Ryan, you've got some pretty deep thoughts about accountability as well, and about owning your shit. I feel like that's a real core principle of what you're doing.
It absolutely is. When I started, I owned a gym for 22 years and got shut down with COVID. But about 4 years before, I was so proud because I met my wife. I married her in 30 days, but I did a whole ownership process, as per what Sarah's talking about here, on my own for a year prior. I didn't have sex for a year, like literally to the day. Happened to work out with my wife, and it was like I removed it from the equation, stopped repeating the cycles, all these sorts of things. And it's funny when we're all having these conversations just on the phone with us, it goes back to the exact same thing. You've got to own your poop. And the same principles to attract, like Sarah's talking about here in dating, is the exact same thing for keeping your spouse engaged and pushing her I must have sex buttons. It's like literally, it's all about what you can own. I actually did a TikTok yesterday, which I don't know if it could get any worse than this, but I don't care if she effed the whole rugby team. The reality is we can talk about morals all day long, but the first question has to be, why wasn't she looking at me?
Yep.
That's it. First one. And it's no different than if it's a business deal, guys. People are mad and everything like that. If you left your lawyer, there's loyalty for 25 years. It's the same thing. Just remove the personal feelings for a second. Why did he leave me and get another lawyer? It's ownership, man. What did I do wrong? And I think if you can do that and you can hold yourself accountable, you have an opportunity to grow. And the problem is, in society, I think we all get too comfortable. We get too complacent, and we just get used to sitting down and blaming somebody else. What's the first
It's easy.
question?
It's convenient.
Yes.
But it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Not if you want to grow.
No, I agree. That growth is a huge piece for sure. Yeah. So I can tell you that from my perspective, what got me going down my road is same thing. I went through a rough divorce, and actually about a week and a half later, I ended up in jail for drug possession, which meant that my teaching career disappeared because, ended up on every front page of every newspaper in the area. At the time, there were newspapers. And yeah, that's the end of your career when you're a teacher. And this is a thing I had put, 2 degrees and 15 years of my life into. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to teach and coach. And it all kind of imploded all at once. And they weren't connected. It just was weird how it's like somebody hit the toilet flush button. And all right, I left my marriage, which was its own problem. I had a lot of things that I had to recover from, like Sarah was talking about. But then weird coincidence, like I said, a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden I'm in jail, and my career goes away too. So it was like my whole life. I mean, what I had left were relationships with my friends and my family, and a few items. I lost the house, of course. I was married to a lawyer, so that's what happens. But when all that happened, I needed a new definition of self. I needed to figure out, who the fuck am I? Because teaching is one of those things where it isn't what you do. It's who you are. Like what I do now is just I do construction type stuff, and it has nothing to do with my personality. It's just a way to make money. But when you're a teacher, you are a teacher. It's a part of who you are, right? So I had a lot of things I had to rebuild all at once. And, once I kind of got through that process, I thought, well, that was a lot. And somebody could probably learn from my mistakes, like Sarah was talking about. So that's what I did. I wrote my first book, mostly just to see if I could do it. And then eventually I figured out, well, like Ryan's talking about, there's a lot of people out there who need this message that, hey, just because you were in a bad relationship, like Sarah was talking about, that doesn't mean that everybody's bad. I had to figure that out the hard way. And I don't know, after I wrote the first book, I just started kind of moving in the direction of what ended up becoming this podcast, and talking to smart people about relationships and about improving your world, making people happier and better. I mean, how can that be a bad thing? I still wonder, and I wonder if you guys do, what's underneath there? Is there do I feel like maybe there's like I owe a cosmic debt somehow? Like I fucked up this part of my world and made these mistakes of getting divorced and fucking up my career and all that. Maybe I owe it to the world somehow to help improve them. I don't know what it is. I can't really figure out what's the personality trait or the psychological thing that's underneath why I'm doing what I do. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, either of you?
Yeah.
For you,
Sarah, do you
how
want
it
to
applies
go?
to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's the older I get, you kind of start to ask the question. You don't ask the question when you're 16, like, what am I going to give back to the world?
Yeah, what's my legacy, right?
What's my legacy? And I don't have any kids, and I don't know if that is in the cards. That's up to the powers that be. But for me, I had women. My mother was back to work full time, 5 kids, right? So I had mentors, I had people in my life that were speaking into my life that really were impactful, helped me get jobs, helped me, really, really helped to formulate who I was. My godmother in particular, a very godly woman, gave me a lot of foundations, what it meant to be, feminine, and just all sorts of things from a business perspective. And I think, as I'm kind of getting to that point where a couple of years away from 40, I'm thinking this is the time I have to do something here. Because we didn't deal with all this social media. We didn't have these influences when we were our age, where we were getting fed just so much information, and a lot of it is misinformation. So there are some people out there that do value truth. And I do see women that are wanting to interact. I do see men that are wanting to interact and understand how they can make their life better and understand other people. You can't save the whole world. And I'm realizing that there's some people that don't want to hear and don't want to take personal accountability, and that's okay.
Yeah. I want to hear what Ryan has to say.
You just keep
Ryan's
going,
on the
Sarah, keep
mission.
going. They will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to a breaking point. It's no different than when you talk to somebody who's like, no, I'd rather be single, whatever. The reality is this, that will go away. Nobody on their deathbed is happy about being single on their deathbed.
That's true. Or being
alone.
alone.
If you talk, I can't tell you how many men or people I've talked to, like business coaches, for example, that would say, Every time I interviewed 1,000 people on their deathbed, and the one thing they said they wish they did more of was spend time with their family. The money meant fuck all, right?
Mhm.
So to where you're at, the answer is yet. At some point, they will have a realization, and it could be a death. It could be, just a realization. I never did anything. I have no time anymore. It's going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be alone. It's in human nature, right?
Yeah, we're not supposed to be alone.
Yeah.
No.
And I had to hit
Sarah.
rock bottom. I mean, my rock bottom was pretty bad. It was, wow, what am I doing here on this planet? I'm in so much pain, and pain is an amazing conduit to change. When people experience enough of it, that's when the light bulb goes off, is I don't want to feel this anymore. So what do I have to do to get out of this? And that's the sweet spot, when people come to you when they're ready.
Humility,
like
it humbles
it's
you.
like, right, like I said, you can't change everybody, but there's a few select that are ready and are willing to hear the message, and those are the people that I'm concentrating on, because that's the seed that you plant, and that's what continues to grow.
So we're all trying to lead people to water, right? We're all trying to lead horses to water. Hey, this is the information. These are the things that can help you. We believe in it. I know I do. I know both of you do. So Ryan, what is the thing that's stopping them from drinking? What is the primary resistance that you face when you are, in your field? Who are your haters? Who are the ones that are resistant? What's your primary hurdle that you have to deal with?
I think it's just like Sarah, her people resisting. It's anybody who has the pain inside, right? So let me give you an example. When you feel the constant rejection because you're not having sex with your wife, you don't realize what that's taking from you, and you're pushing that hurt out, and you're living in
it leaks out other places, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so I call it a no tone. You're creating a no tone in your home, so it's assumed you're not having sex, so it's easy to say no all the time. I'm too tired, it's kids, whatever. But what men don't realize when I'm working with them and they start to go through my content, they're like, oh my gosh, I have all these expectations about why I should be having sex. I should be, they've been so wrapped up in this pain and isolation of not being wanted that they didn't realize that literally everything they're doing just goes back and leaks out in the way that they're talking or an action that they're doing, telling their wife, I can't survive without you. They've forgotten who they are.
That's
when you make that tiny little reflection, that's why, again, we can go back to the cheating example, because I think that's one of the worst ones. Like, I'm not saying we don't have to address morals and things like that, but it allows you to take that step and go, okay, I want the water. What this guy is giving me is it's going to empower me.
Yeah.
And it's because you just took a step back and you realized, holy shit, by owning it, by realizing that it wasn't her that didn't want me, I was making her not want me.
I was making myself unwantable.
Yes, right. It just boils down to it. So when I talk about giving back, man, like, I think that's one of the fundamental qualities of being attractive. If you think back to when you're dating, Sarah, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but if you are dating and you are telling this opposite sex of what's going on, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, almost always you're presenting this energy of giving back, even if it's just energy, right? Yeah. Maybe you're not into charities. Maybe you're not like, sure, I give my stuff away for free, whatever. And I tell people do stuff like that. But even if it's just giving positive energy off because you've got all this stuff in your life going on, that changes everything in the atmosphere, man. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
It's like delivering a joke. No wonder they're not laughing. You're not even in a fun, energetic position to deliver a joke. So they think you're stupid and they think the joke's funny when someone else tells it.
Yeah.
Take it personal. It's rejection.
Yeah.
Own it, man. Own it.
Yeah, you got to own it. Sarah, because you and I share haters and are very similar in our message and our way we deliver it. I think I already know this answer, but what is your primary resistance? Who are your haters? Who are the people who are, trying to hold you up, telling you you're wrong? What's the resistance that you face?
I would say that the majority is women at this point.
What?
Because, yeah, big surprise.
Yeah.
I think that what they're seeing is that that I might be enabling bad behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and that is in men, correct. And that is not what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to do is point out that, we as women, we think very differently. We see things very differently. We have something
Men,
called
of course.
diffuse. Yeah, we have something called diffuse awareness. You all have something called singular awareness, where,
I'm very
we
interested
are,
in this.
yeah. So we are, we're gatherers, right? You are hunters. As gatherers, when we were going out, hundreds, thousands of years ago, it's very crucial for us to have all of our senses be aware. That's why they say, women, you can see everything. You have eyes in the back of your head, because we really did have to have eyes in the back of our head. We had to know what was going all around, because there was danger, there was constant threat, as a woman. So we're constantly perceiving this threat, right?
More on the defensive than the offensive, whereas as a man.
Correct. I mean, and we see everything, and our brains are just constantly going. So when the throw pillow is off on the couch, we notice it. When there's certain things that are socks on the floor, or there's stuff everywhere. I mean, I'm Ryan, you're the one that has kids. I mean, typically, the
Doritos.
woman, exactly. So
Did you say
sometimes-
Doritos?
Oh, tornadoes.
Oh,
My
tornadoes.
little
Okay.
blonde tornadoes. Yeah.
I gotcha.
But so women typically are the ones that perceive all of those things. So they're the ones that can typically take responsibility for that. What I think we fail to understand is, men are singular focused. Their focus is, we're going to hunt that lion. We're going to go get that lion. We're going to kill that lion. Then we're going to bring back that lion. And then our job is done. We've done our
For a
job,
bit. Yeah. Yeah.
and we're going to rest, and we're going to rebuild our testosterone. And then we're going to go back and do it again. And so it's like, I'm trying to point out that it's not that he doesn't see, or it's not that he's not doing the things that you want him to, because he's stubborn or because he's this or that. It's, he possibly just got concentrating on something else, and the things that you told him, he might have just forgotten. So I think a lot of women are seeing that as, he's lazy, or he just doesn't care about me, or they're taking it personally. And it's like, how do we talk to each other and understand each other because gender roles do play a role.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that anybody who doesn't believe that, we see things differently in the way that we talk, and how we emote, and how women get upset and cry versus men get angry. And they're just testosterone and estrogen. Anyway, I digress. My whole point is that we have to, as women, I think, if we took the time, especially in the dating community, to understand men versus understand how to like catch them and keep them, the pickup artist stuff, where I got to play hard to get, or I gotta do this, or I gotta be this so that he wants to call me back. And it's like, no, we shouldn't be teaching that. Like, we should be teaching, how a man thinks, and why he gets busy and doesn't text you back, because he's on his purpose, and he's on his mission, and he's doing his thing. Like, don't discard him just because of that. So I think there's just trying to get to the deeper meaning of it all.
It's a brilliant.
Sarah, I love that you just put it that way, because I love that we've only known each other for, I don't even know if it's 10 days or something, and we're just click, 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 click. And I love the example you used, with noticing what's going on, the details on the couch, because in my course, that's what I'll say, a man at home, you need to be aware of how she's thinking. She's picking up everything after you. You're also a child. If you're not helping, like, you live at home too, start noticing details. But you put it so eloquently. I think it's great. The basic is simple. I love that, because you got to understand the perspective of man and woman, because regardless if you believe in God, if you believe in science, if you believe in evolution of how everything happened with the movements in the last 70 years, or since we start talking about the war or whatever, it's real. They're fundamental things that were differences between man and woman for centuries before we started talking with social media.
Yeah, I agree. And, I feel like you guys, we're all doing the same stuff, but one small difference is, Ryan, you're big on know yourself first and then know the opposite sex. And Sarah, this is just something I picked up on. I could be way off, but you are primarily focusing on, here's how you understand the opposite sex. I'm sure that works into your system somehow, into your thoughts. about understanding yourself. Is that a thing that you address?
Oh, as far as
For a
understanding
woman
myself as a
understanding herself
woman.
before she goes out to understand men?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because you
It's
did
been
that.
just as it's been just as helpful for me to know what my triggers are and know that, okay, I might be, hypersensitive about this or taking this personally, or acting. My estrogen, I call it, like, my estrogen is dominant right now, like it's taking over my brain. It's and then I stop myself and say, okay, maybe I need to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I'm noticing things, and I'm hyper aware of certain things that he might not be aware of. So that's when that's the beauty of it. Like, that's when the conversation happens. If we were dating, or husband and wife, it's like, okay, my female's coming out and it's telling me that you're being lazy,
Mhm.
but let's talk about it. You're not seeing the things that I'm seeing. What are you seeing? And where can we meet in the middle here? Because we're both seeing things differently. And I think that's the beauty of the conversation, because then you both take ownership, and then you come to the compromise and you negotiate. Problem solved.
That's
Like,
brilliant.
I think no arguments, or like, I think you would have such a happy life if you just looked at it as my responsibility, your responsibility. And men and women need to both take responsibility. I'm not saying that men are innocent here, like Ryan. Like,
Nobody is.
I've been in those types of relationships too, Ryan, where I've looked at the man and go, God, like, I don't want to do your, like, who wants to pick your underwear off the floor?
Yeah.
Like, you're another child. And
Yeah.
and that is not sexy. Women do not find that sexy. And that's,
100%.
I think that is the very frustrating part, is men have, were primarily raised by their mothers, and they like that initially, but it loses its appeal.
So how do you get that
after-
across to women, Sarah? How do you get that these ideas you're telling me? What's your method for sharing that? I mean, how do you help people in that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, because I think that you have to do it in a way that doesn't cause defensiveness, right? That's the
That's a tough
biggest
one.
thing.
Just for anybody, for men or
Is
women.
right. So I think it's really just about highlighting the differences from not only a scientific point of view, like I was talking about, estrogen and testosterone. There's been many books that have written, the male female brain, many studies that have been done on just how these differences contribute to how we act towards each other. So that's the angle that I'm taking, is that it's not about what you're doing. It's not about what he's doing. It's really about how evolutionary this has played out, and how it's playing out now in 2022. Because
Yeah.
even if it was thousands of years ago, there are still some things that ring true
Oh,
to
DNA is
today.
DNA. Your genetics are your genetics. I say that all the time. I mean, in the last 200 years, technology has exploded, but our DNA hasn't changed at all. We're still the same
Well, I think
animals we
that's
always
what,
were. And Ryan, I'm sure you see that a lot. I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing you deal with.
that's exactly what I'm getting at is, and I mean, I have a strong wife. I mean, she just got published. She's got a
Good for her.
business. I mean, like, she's an empowered woman. And yeah, I face some challenges sometimes, because I had to learn how to lead my wife and get her to follow, right? And
Yeah.
most men aren't leading their homes anymore.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, women's are, whether or not she is some big fancy high corporate job, that's irrelevant. She's making the decisions for everything, from the schedule for the kids, for what's for dinner. When she should do the laundry, because he doesn't understand, he should probably give some help around the house,
Yeah.
like everything. So she's leading the household, literally. And these are major fundamental differences that if you just look at the way it's always been, but because the idea of the mindset of we've got to rise up, women, and no, now it's bad to be a man. We're dealing with this every single day, but it's not hard when you understand it. I can talk to my wife and bring her. And the other day I had to have a conversation with her and say, we're going places. Like, I'm loving this new direction. I have all these new goals. Let's talk about it. And she almost took a little bit personally. And I'm like, you're the only one that's upset here, babe. Like, what's wrong with going a little further? She's like, yeah, you're right. But that's having to lead her a little bit. right?
Yeah, that's a tough thing. I mean, certainly that's a resistance you're going to have for sure. It is not popular to say what you just said, to say,
No.
men need to learn how to lead. It's protect and provide, right? And I think a lot of guys don't do that. I mean, and that's why I wrote my second book. But a guy I know, Ryan Mickler, you adds the third word, and that's preside, protect, provide, and preside. And that's be that strong figure that is worth following, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. Nobody wants to say that that's okay right now. And there isn't a woman at her core who isn't going to agree with that. She might be repeating back what social media is telling her is, oh, I'm in charge. I'm a boss babe or whatever. But deep down, she probably wants to be led a little bit. Sarah, am I stepping on your toes on this?
No, not at all. And I think what a woman would really tell you if you got her in a room with just herself is
There it is.
is that one, we want to be led, and two, we have I know how much power I have if I support my man.
Yes.
And I give him the support that he needs and the encouragement, and I don't judge, and I allow him to make mistakes, and to provide the way that he feels he needs to provide without questioning his every move. You men are unstoppable.
And as a couple, your whole
when you have that environment, right?
Yeah. So can I just interrupt you, because I would love to just say, women, you need to understand, we want you as strong as strong as possible, because now that I have my wife on my side and I'm leading, I can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we are a true team, So yeah, rise up, women. We want that.
Yeah, rise definitely. Up, but do it in a way that is not going to emasculate you all, because there is a fine line. There is a fine line. And I am a very strong woman. And I think that's what people misunderstand about my TikTok, is they think I'm this housewife staying home and watching Fox News all day. And I'm like, whoa. I have a very high stress corporate job. I'm doing this on my own time. I am a musician on the weekends. I am going at 100 miles a minute, but that doesn't mean that I don't want a partner who wants to support me and I want to support him. That's the beauty of it. We both want those things. So don't be a doormat.
Yeah. I think that strength piece is key. The stronger I become in myself, the easier it is for me to admit, yep, I'd be better if I had a good woman by my side. I'm single, and I know that that's what a woman brings to the table. A good one's going to push me, support me, make me better. It has nothing to do with, I need you to cook and clean. Fuck all that shit. I've been doing that for myself forever. At both times I was with somebody cohabitating, I did all the cooking. I did most of the cleaning. I don't need that. I can do that myself, but support me, push me. And I'll admit like I said, I don't mind admitting that, to be my very best, to achieve at a rate that's going to be the highest I can achieve. Having a woman there is going to make it better. I'll be better at it if I have the right woman around. I don't mind admitting that. Doesn't make me weak. Doesn't make me less than complete. And so many people, nobody wants to say that. Everybody wants to say, I don't need no man. Well, you're not going to get no man. I think it's part of strength to admit, yep, I'd be better off if I had someone.
Yeah. And we need each other. That is strength. For me, a woman resting in her power, resting in her strength, resting in her femininity has no need to emasculate a man. That's it. She can let him be him, and he can let her thrive as well.
Yeah. So many times when those negative comments come out, it really is just a reflection of what you're thinking about yourself. I know there's a small example, but when, I see somebody on the highway and they're driving, having a road rage situation. I mean, just, people cut you off or whatever. I always, the comments that come out of my mouth, it's crazy. If I'm feeling bad about my body weight, I'm more likely to call that guy a fat bastard. You know what I mean? The things that you're worried about in yourself, that's what you, express out on other people. So the more secure you can be. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Ryan, what do you think?
I think that's pretty true. I use that kind of example as a different thought in my mind. I always think what the hell is going on? Maybe he just found out he just walked in on his wife with another man. But that's for me is I have a really heavy focus on ownership, because otherwise, how could I ever learn to deal with 37 years of anger and let it go?
Yeah, that's true.
And so, but I do think that you're right. It always boils down to you're gonna represent all the hurt that you have. Fat bastard, for example, right?
Yeah. So, true. Well, you guys, I'm going to wrap up the recording because we're at our 40-minute limit, but I appreciate you guys both being on here. I'm going to send you another invite because we're going to cover a couple things, but as far as our recording, that'll do it. Any last comments?
No, I think I'm really good. I really appreciate being on the show here, man. And
yeah,
I
great
love
conversation.
talking to you guys.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Let's do it again.
We will.
Yeah.